You had a couple cool deals with Scott Steiner too. Different styles, but it worked. What do you remember about wrestling?
I think they liked it because it was a fight. Because Scott liked to fight, and I worked well fighting. He was super cool with me. He was so friendly. He was light as a feather. He was very supportive. He was open to everything. It was a lesson to me in humility. You know, he's got a lot of heat everywhere. I'm assuming. I've heard. I don't really give a shit about wrestling gossip, but he's never once not said hi to me. We had that feud, and I was like, when I was starting to get into wrestling, they had the UWF, and I remember they had the it was on Sunday mornings, and they would show the Steiner brothers would do the training at the school, the Steiner brothers, and you would see the Steiner brothers, and you see them do it in the Frankenstein and all that kind of stuff, and the German suplexes. You're like, oh my God, you know, those guys are superheroes. So there's a lot of history there. It was really cool. Yeah.
How did y'all get along behind the scenes?
Awesome. Because, you know, because I don't think anybody wanted to listen to him anymore talking about how much he hated Ric Flair. So I think I was a new ear to spew love for Mr. Flair. And we would kind of travel around the same areas, and we would go to the same gym and stuff like that. So it was, you know, we weren't going to go to the movies together, but we were definitely friendly. Yeah, it was cool. He was awesome, honestly. Still is.
Another match I wanted to ask about is you versus Dr. Death, Steve Williams at Starrcade.
Okay.
What can you tell me about that match? What do you remember?
That match saved my life with Steve Williams. Because when we first met, I was like, Steve, you're an inspiration to me, and I watch all your All Japan stuff. What is it you would like me to do for you? When I spoke to him like that, he kind of adopted me as little brother. He loved it, and I loved it because I was a fan of that Japanese style. And, you know, I said, let's have an All Japan match. And he was like, kid, you sure? And I was like, don't kill me, but yes, I'm sure. I would love to. I know how. I can't do this shit, but I can do that. And we had that style of a match, and it was so good. What an experience. But with him, when I was in Japan, in the Budokan, big 18,000 seat sumo thing, and you hear that music, and he's coming down the ramp in Japan against you. Oh, me. That was fear. Yes, sir. Yeah.
What do you think would have been scarier? You've lived at Steve Williams' entrance, or maybe say the Undertaker, the bell gong. Which would?
Oh, Steve Williams. Because, you know, I'm into vampires and horror. I want to do the Undertaker's intro. I love it, man. But when you hear Steve Williams grunting and fucking snot coming out of his fucking nose, and he's just, it's like, what am I supposed to do? It's like, please just get it over quick.
How did the Deadpool faction with you and ICP and Raven come about?
They were like, because of the rock and roll thing, and ICP was coming in. They were like, I'm painting the face and all that kind of stuff. They were like, let's put these guys together and see what happens. And Raven was the outcast, and, you know, the leader of the outcast type thing, right? So when Raven came in, Raven was a real big fan of the Deadpool comic. So Raven came up with that idea. That was 100% Raven. And it was a great idea. But we didn't last for more than 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So I don't even remember what happened there. But with ICP, we clicked in the biggest of ways, for sure. We became very, very close friends.
Were you aware of ICP before they came?
Yeah, because one of my heroes, Steve Jones, who's the guitar player from the Sex Pistols, played on an ICP record. And I was reading an interview with Steve Jones, and he had mentioned ICP, and they explained who and what ICP is. And then like 3 days later, I went to television and they told me ICP. So it was kind of a cool moment, and that's kind of how that happened.
All right. What do you remember about your graveyard match against the Demon?
Was there a match? Wasn't it in a swamp or some bullshit like that?
So yeah.
The graveyard was the Sting, isn't it?
Let's see. The match was earlier in the night before the Jarrett, Hogan, and Russo situation happened.
It was pretty brief, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, you know what? I've completely forgot about that. But it's, I got all these head injuries, so I got some serious memory issues, PTSD and all that. But I remember in the swamp with him. That was horrifying when we fell into the swamp. I had to go underwater in the dark in the swamp. I'm like, there's snakes and crocodiles and sharks and all kind of shit down here. And you sure you want to do a vignette like this? And it was like, I have PTSD because of that. It was scary. It was fucking scary, dude. So I think I blocked that though out of my mind. So thank you very much for bringing that up, you motherfucker.
What do you think the main reasons were that WCW collapsed in just 3 years after you got there?
I mean, I kind of sucked, but it wasn't that bad, was it? I don't even know. I don't even know. I don't think it was turning a profit. I've heard different versions that of course it was, of course it wasn't. I wasn't in at that level. I know that there was way too, I don't think it was a money issue with the $1 Million Baby Club, that I think it was so inconsistent because everybody started getting creative control. And they're taking control. You write television all day and the wrestlers change it on the spot. So I think that really started to, it was unfixable. I believe that was a big part of it, but that's just my opinion. So I don't know.
What was your reaction when Vince McMahon bought out WCW and ECW in the same year? Were you hopeful, concerned, or did it matter to you because you still had Japan, Mexico?
Yeah, I didn't. Once I was out. I don't follow it. I didn't read the Wrestling Observer. I didn't follow it because why? Why invite that energy in? I was very fortunate to have Japan, and I rekindled fires in Mexico. I had access to all the indies that I wanted to be on, but I had a serious contract in Japan, so it was fine. It was fine, and then I was going to Puerto Rico and all that stuff, so it was okay. Yeah, I when I heard about it, it was like I never imagined something like that would happen, but then it was like, okay. Because it just had nothing to do with me.
TitleMatchNetwork.com